This is gonna hurt. It's time for the Suffering Podcast.
The fabric of a neighborhood is not in the government or the location, but in the people that live there. They take on the responsibility to make their surroundings something special, feeling a sense of responsibility and ownership in every smile that walks down the street. The struggle for people is to keep the authenticity of the neighborhood. Very few places in the world are able to maintain that hometown feel, losing their identity by becoming something they're not. Through hard work and perseverance, success comes, even when you're not looking for it. Navigating uncharted waters to stay true to the initial vision, becoming a legendary success story on the lips of the community. I'm Kevin Donaldson here with Mike Failace, and on this episode of the Suffering Podcast, we welcome Mary Sciarrone to discuss the suffering of Cake Boss. Mary has been in the business for so long, and Carlo's Bakery is a Hoboken staple. Thank you so much for coming in.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure.
She was there from the beginning, helped build it up.
Yes.
You know, we have class, and then there's us.
Yes.
There's something. There's something. You listen. You greeted us with this nice, warm smile. We never met face to face. We spoke on the phone.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of the show.
Thank you.
And this is actually really nice to sit down with you because I've heard so much about you. We have
Thank you.
I've seen so much about her. I've seen it all on TV. I never really got the chance to meet her.
We have that odd connection, as we do with most of our guests, through Mike DePalma. And
Yes.
listen, he's such a wonderful man.
Love Mike DePalma.
Before we get into anything, let's give a big shout out to our marquee sponsor. That's Toyota of Hackensack. We don't trust anybody, but we do trust them. So if you're looking for a car, go to toyotahackensack.com and let them find you a car. So, Mary, each week, before we get into anything about your life and the business and Carlo's Bakery and your fame, we take a question every week from our audience. This week's question comes from Sally Q, and it says, "What is the hardest business decision that you ever had to make?" I'm sure, in a business like Carlo's Bakery, there's some things that aren't really popular.
Yes. Well, I think one of the hardest decisions that we had to make as a family was redoing the bakery because when we first bought it from Shoning's, it was Shoning's Bakery, we redid it, and it was really, our parents, that was like their dream and their passion, and they really decorated it, and it was their, idea, and that came to life for them. And that was their vision of it. And then when, we had to redo it because it needed to be redone badly.
Different location?
No, same location.
Okay.
But it was just it was like their dream in there, and the way, because, our dad had passed away, and that was just the way that he wanted it. That was, I think, one of the hardest decisions that we had to make as a family. Do we do this because that was the way he left it. And he had passed. And,
did your mother have a hard time with it?
Well, our mom, she at that point was sick and she had dementia. And I don't think she really realized what was going on. I think that she did see it before she passed, and she was very happy and she was pleased. And I think that, when we did take down one of the walls, my dad's best friend did write in it, "Congratulations and good luck, Mary and Buddy." So that was actually nice that we did get to see that. It was, very sentimental, but she was pleased. So that was another thing that was good.
The difficulty in doing that, was that, I'm trying to put myself in your shoes, was that your idea of maybe kind of squashing your father's dream? Because again, it was like your father wanted to.
I think it was a little bit because that's the way he left this earth, and that was his legacy, and that was him. And I think it was very hard to just tear down the bakery because that's what he left. And he really, he had a little bakery, which was right next door to Fiore's on Adams Street. It was 412 Adams. And then he was like, "Oh, I'm going to buy this big bakery on Washington Street, and you guys are all going to come work for us. And, you're going to all quit your jobs and, quit school and finish school and work at the bakery." And we were like, "Oh, okay." And it was like his dream and his vision, and that's how he left it, and that's what he wanted us all to be there together.
What a beautiful thing.
And yeah, and then it was like, okay, well, but so it was like, because then after the show, like there was so like those long lines and so many people, like it was like thousands of people would come a day, and the bakery just was like crying, like it was like literally falling apart and needed to be done. And we did do the right thing, but it was just very hard. It was a hard
it's like when someone older passes away and they always had that chair that they sat in.
Yeah.
You know, it would be like throwing out that chair.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Gee,
it was his chair.
It's
Yeah.
down the line. So I had a dog that passed away. I
Yeah.
still have her favorite toy.
Yeah.
And she's been gone now for 3 years. I'll never get rid of that toy.
Yeah.
Both of my dogs passed away, and my dog used to carry around a Curious George doll all the time. Still have it sitting up on a shelf.
So, Mike, what do you think?
I listen. I mean, we've talked about it before. I think leaving law enforcement. You know, the time came to leave law enforcement. I wasn't ready to go, but it was a decision that I had to make.
You know, it wasn't the way you wanted to go out.
You know, you had no walkouts, no celebrations, no party. It was just went to work one night and it was done the next day. So it really wasn't no fanfare. Not that I was looking for it, but
You know, for me, you know, I'm going to piggyback on your answer because, you know, obviously leaving law enforcement was very difficult. But Mike and I, when we started this show, we started it in my basement, and you know, Mike would come in, say hi to my kids, pet my dog, say hi to my wife, and we go downstairs and bring in some random stranger into our house. Some of them not really upstanding individuals in society, but that was our home.
Yeah.
You know, and when it was time that we were growing, and when it was time to make this what it is, what you see today, it was really hard. And I didn't take down that studio till about 4 months after that we had been recording in here. And when I took it down, I was almost in tears taking down these curtains. They're very similar curtains in downstairs, and I'm taking off the curtains and
the flags.
And it was really difficult for me to do that. That was the hardest business. I knew I had to do it, just like you. You had to do it.
Yeah.
Your business was growing. You had to do what you had to do, but there's a piece in you. I got a little sentimentality in me.
Yeah.
And that was really tough.
I'm sure it wasn't too tough for your kids.
No, they got their playroom back.
He took up half their playroom to build a studio.
I get a decent sized house, so they got
Yeah.
plenty of stuff. And
Yeah.
you know, they for 2 hours on Saturday they couldn't play their video games or do anything down there. So well, listen, it is what it is. But I still keep a little area.
Yeah.
But I got to record stuff. Sally, thank you so much for sending that in. Keep sending in your questions, and we will try to get them on the air. So I have heard so much about you. I've done more research than I ever want to admit, and now I am an addict to your Instagram.
Okay.
Your cook, because I do love to cook, and
Okay.
I see
Cake
that you
Boss
do.
Mary, right?
Yeah, Cake Boss Mary. So I just made your stuffed peppers the other night.
Yeah.
If everybody, you got to make the stuffed peppers. Don't do what I did. I added a couple extra hot peppers because I like the spice.
Yeah, but listen, some people like it hot. I do too. You could use like hot sausage, or you could always add like hot peppers or whatever you want to spice it up a little bit.
And now I have no judge on whether it was as good as yours, but the one I made was pretty damn good. It was pretty
My
damn-
grandmother used to make homemade what she called Albanian sausage.
Uh-huh.
Oh, she'd grind up the meat every Sunday and, put it in a thing and, unbelievable.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I know a lot about you, but I want you to tell a little bit about yourself to our audience.
What is there to say?
Besides, you have one of the brightest smiles I've ever seen in my life.
Well, I mean, I have 19-year-old twins that I like completely adore. That's like my world. And I do like to cook. I mean, we are a very close-knit family. I am always with my sisters and my brother too, and my sister-in-law. Like we're very, very close. We do hang out together like all the time, every day, usually. And we do like to cook. We do like to spend time together. And what else can I say? Like everything is about family and about my kids.
The cooking, is it like the whole family gets together?
Well,
'Cause
you know what? Like honestly, like we usually on the weekends will go like Sundays. We'll go to my brother's house. Like Sundays, if I call my brother and I'll say to him, because he does work a lot and he does like like he'll travel a lot, like, a little bit, like, to go to the different bakeries in different locations. And he does have, a lot of business in Vegas. So he does travel. And it's a little bit annoying to go to Vegas because of the time difference.
Yeah.
So you get tired, the 3 hours, to make up, it's a lot, So if we call him and we'll say, oh, buddy, what are you doing? Do you want to come over? He just automatically, like, he calls me Big M. That's my nickname because I eat like literally like everything. Like I love to eat. So he calls me Big M. That's what he's like, Big M, just come to my house. He's like, I'm just so tired. So that's what his famous line is, just come over. And his wife will always say, do you want to come over? We have a family group text, like, I think there's 28 of us in the family. So like we'll text each other like whatever is going on.
That sounds exhausting.
And the phone will be bing, bing, bing. Yeah. So you'll see some people leaving the conversation, like I guess if someone's studying, then we'll just re-add you in. Like if you leave the conversation, we just re-add you in. So we have a group text like every day. We just keep texting each other, like whatever is going on. So in 28 people, something's going on with someone. So we'll just text you. And we do. We have a family.
And if you're busy, by the time you catch up to it, you're about 300 texts behind.
And there was something that came up. It's not a family text, but it is a family text with our group from group therapy. And you see something late and you have a good answer for it, but you're already so far behind the conversation. Like,
so it's just like that's like really us. But like, if you don't go to Buddy's house, like you'll come to my house or my sister Lisa's house and we will cook together. Like, I'll say, all right, well, do you want to eat over? And we'll either eat at my house or my sister Lisa's house. And now like my brother has a pool and we all have a shore house together. So we have a shore house together. So it's big enough where we all sleep. You could sleep.
You're never there. Are you all there together?
Yeah, you could sleep 24 people.
I was going to say, there's 28 people on a text thread.
You could sleep 24 people there. Like in each room, there's like 2 king-size beds. Like you can't fit much of anything else, but you could fit 2 beds.
That is unlike any other shore house I've ever seen or been involved in.
Yeah, but when we were young, we'd had 24 people in a shore house.
Exactly.
But there was 2 rooms. They were sleeping on the floors.
And 1 twin bed.
Yeah. So we're very close-knit family. We do cook together. We do eat together a lot, and we do spend a lot of time
Holidays
together.
must be a riot cooking.
I do Thanksgiving. That's my holiday. So I cook every Thanksgiving, and my brother does Christmas. And Christmas Eve, we really don't celebrate Christmas Eve.
Can you imagine being a guest at their house, world famous bakers, world famous cooks, and the bar, the expectation level has got to be so high, so you have to bring it every holiday. Can you imagine that?
Oh, forget it.
And we just have a really good time. Like we're all together, we're happy. Listen, sometimes do we argue with each other? Yeah, but we make up right away.
The sibling fights.
Well, is that something that's carried over from your parents? Because it sounds like from what you said earlier, it sounds like they started Carlo's Bakery to keep the family together. Some people just get an RV or a shore house, but your father decided to start a bakery.
Yeah, he did. And if we do argue, like if I'm mad at one of my sisters, like I would call my brother and I'd be like, could you believe? And he'd be like, really? He's like, you're going to talk to her. So just like call her and just make up with her. Like he's like kind of like the sense of reasoning. And like he kind of just, even though he's the youngest. Actually, he's the baby, like in the family.
And there's 3 girls?
4 girls.
4 girls and Buddy.
And then Buddy.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's the baby, and he's kind of like the voice of reasoning, and he's kind of like the glue that holds everything together.
First of all, hold on a second. So he has 4 older sisters.
Yes.
His high school experience must have been wonderful.
Goodness. Yes. He was, he was, we used to like kind of boss him around a little bit, and he was just like, he was a really good boy, and he really is still like,
So
good.
if we ever get a chance to talk to Buddy, I don't care what kind of a baker you are. I don't give a crap about that. I want to hear about your high school experience with 4 older sisters.
Yes. I'm a lot older than him.
Hmm.
So I was probably out of high school. Yeah, I was out of high school when he was in high school. So he went to high school. My youngest, I'm the middle child. So I'm like dead in the middle.
You're third?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's two
So I
older
did my research on you.
and two younger. So I was out of high school and Buddy was in high school. And he went to high school, my younger sister. So they were in high school together.
Could you imagine getting that first girlfriend?
Oh,
Bringing her
yeah.
home. I'm going to bring my girlfriend home to meet her. You got 4 angry sisters standing there, eyeing her up and down.
Yeah.
But again, you probably having that. I don't have any sisters.
Okay.
You were probably able to school him on the proper way to treat a lady. Support for the Suffering Podcast is brought to you by Manscaped, who's the best in men's below-the-waist grooming.
Their products are precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped Performance Package is the ultimate men's hygiene bundle.
Inside the package, you'll find the Lawnmower 4.0, Weed Whacker Ear, Nose, Hair Trimmer, and the Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant.
And we also got the Crop Reviver Ball Toner. This thing is a life changer. Along with that, boxer brief.
I'm going to tell you what, these are like high quality boxer briefs, and this is no joke. I'm not saying this just because
really
Manscaped sent it to us. These are nice. My boys are going to be quite happy in there.
You can't tell Kevin's wearing them under the table right now. And we also have a nice travel package.
Join over 8 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer just for you. 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code TSP at manscaped.com.
Jesus Christ, that's a lot of balls.
Yeah.
Which helped him.
Yes. And he was very good with all of his sisters. Like, we would say to him, oh, like, ride your bike and go to, like, 7-Eleven and get us, like, a bag of potato chips. Or in the morning, there was, like, a place, Harry's Corner on Route 46. We'd say, go get us an egg sandwich. And he did. Like, he would ride his bike and go do whatever we told him to do. Like, when he was a young kid.
He was your
And
gopher.
He
Yeah, exactly.
did. He was he was
That's what the youngest child always does.
he was a good boy. He was a good boy.
And good boys usually turn out to be good men.
And he's a good husband to his wife, and he's a great dad, and he's really a good guy. I'm not just saying that.
Yeah.
He's a good, like, if you go to his house and you're like, if we don't have dessert, we're like, all right, buddy, we're like, what are we gonna do? And he's like, all right, well, like, do you want like chocolate chip cookies? And he'll make them, or like one of his kids will start baking.
It's never go
Like-
out to shop right and get some
exactly.
cookies.
Yeah, like, all right, well, what do you want? Like, and he'll start baking, or like one of his kids are like good bakers too.
Well, did you learn?
They
Did
really
you
are.
learn your skills from?
Well,
I mean, that was a bakery, but culinary expertise.
But when we were younger, it was different. When we were younger and our dad was there, like, we were taught that we ran the front of the house, and like my brother was put in the back. Like, we weren't allowed like to even lift a pan. Like, back in those days, like, the boys catered to us, like all the guys, like, it was
That's
different.
old school.
That's old school
very
Italian.
old school. So we weren't.
Did your mother handle the money?
Yes.
See, that's
That-
super old school.
Yes, it was old school. And we were just allowed in the front. So we didn't learn the back of the bakery. So I didn't learn. Like, listen, I've seen them make pastries 100 times. I've seen them decorate cakes and do that. But I wouldn't, if you like came in and put a gun to my head, I couldn't decorate a cake. I could tell you what's wrong with the cake, but I couldn't. I could make a pastry because I've seen it done, and those skills, I kind of like, the blood is running through my veins. I guess it's in me. I could definitely do that, but I definitely couldn't make it. Like, I couldn't ice a cake.
So your parents come to you, your father comes to you and says, I'm going to open up this bakery.
Yeah.
How old were you when he opened up
I was a senior in high school when he came and he said, I'm buying Shoney's. It was Shoney's at the time. He's like, I'm buying this bakery. It was like, Shoney's was the best American bakery in Hoboken. And he's like, I'm buying it, and, we're going to be the best American bakery and Italian bakery combination. And the two bakers that were there were going to still work there. And, my dad was known as the best Italian bakery in Hoboken. So,
But there's a lot of hard work that goes into
oh
that.
my God.
That
A
just
lot of
doesn't
hours
happen.
too. Yeah.
when we were younger, our dad was never home, like on Christmas morning, on Thanksgiving, on Easter. He did. I remember when I made my first Holy Communion. He didn't come. He didn't come to the church. He didn't come. Like, he was late for my party.
Did you understand that, though, at that age?
No, I was devastated. I didn't understand that till years later because he was working. He was making everyone else's communion cakes, like because he was busy.
Did you ever hold that against him?
No, I mean, he was such a great dad. I mean, like, so I honestly did not like think of it. When I was little, I was upset. Yeah, I was, like,
Well, you really didn't
looking
know better at that point.
Yeah,
It's
I
just,
was young and whatever. But even when I was younger and I played, I used to play softball and I was a cheerleader. He was never at any of the games to watch me. I mean, like, my son wrestles. I wouldn't even think of missing, like, I'd be like, all right, I'm leaving. My son's wrestling. like,
Gotta
I'm
go.
going.
That was the one thing I always promised myself. I mean, Mike, you were very fortunate because you
Yeah.
lived in the town you
I
worked.
worked in.
That was one of the things that I always promised myself with my kids, that I'm going to be that father who's there. Unfortunately, I missed one of my son's baseball games tonight, but
Yeah, I always said, my parents were divorced when I was like 7 years old, and my father never missed one of my sporting events until I got to college.
Yeah,
Never. He was at everything.
because they remember that.
Yeah.
The kids see that stuff.
of course.
And, thankfully you had the wherewithal to overcome it and understand a little bit. But I'm sure there's plenty of times your father came home dog tired. And I don't know anybody who's been around somebody who's baked all day. They come home, they stink.
They do.
Stink.
He had such a smell to him. I could still smell it to this day. Like, I could close my eyes and smell it. Like, he had an odor to him.
Well, it's funny when you walk past a bakery and you get that smell. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
it smells so. But when you smell like it 24 hours
Yeah.
a day, it's like,
And people in the back are probably just
Yeah.
gagging at this stuff.
And when you're like, it's like when you're cooking, like for a holiday, it's the same thing. Like, you're exhausted. Like, I understand it now because I'm a mom, and like, there's days where, like, I'm tired and you're just like exhausted. Like, now I understand it, and I think that even like our kids, like, if they don't understand it, like, when someday they're gonna understand it, when they're a mom or they're a dad, they'll get it. They'll be like, oh my God, like, I get it. Like,
really, isn't that preparing for your future? What your father did?
Exactly.
Did all that so you could have
Exactly.
you could have more.
So, like, I get it.
Was there ever a time in the history of Carlo's Bakery, because you were of age where you saw it all,
Oh my
where
goodness.
it almost didn't work? Or was he just the best?
No, he was just the best.
He was just, he had that
Always.
talent.
Always. Like, he was just the best.
I mean, I'm sure finances sometimes, it's tough running a business.
Well, especially
I
to
mean,
buy it at first too. You
you
had to have
know-
all that money to buy it and then pick it up again from there.
Yeah. I mean, when I was younger, when my dad came, though, because he worked for Carlos, his name was Carlos Gustafaro, and his kids had no interest in the business. So Carlos actually sold it to him and held the loan for him. So he got kind of lucky that he did that for him. So he was lucky that happened for him. So I don't know. I mean, like, I don't know if he was making any money, but he had that opportunity that he was able to have that loan through the man, and he got lucky.
Well, I don't think it's luck. I just think opportunities present themselves.
Yeah.
And
And
you got to be awake in order to see them.
exactly. And his mother, and then my mother was working there, and she helped. And he told her, like, when he saw her, he's like, I'm going to marry you. He just knew. And he told her, he's like, learn whatever you can. And he's like, we're going to get married someday. Weird, right? Like, he just met her and knew. And she was like, okay. And learned whatever she could from the business, and then saved. She was a really good saver. My mother was a really good saver. Because even when I worked there, I'm like, can I have my pay? She's like, well, what do you need? I'm like, what do you mean? What do I need? I need my money.
Well, there's a reason I
She's
know all that
like-
stuff. So I grew up around all Italians.
Yeah.
My wife is Italian, and her grandmother, Greenhorn, like, she was the money woman.
Mm-hmm.
Husband went out and worked. She took care of all the money.
All the money.
She made sure there was a budget. That's the way. Things are a little different now.
My grandmother never worked a day in her life, and my grandfather had to go to her for money.
I'm really wishing.
Yeah.
That's the one lesson I wish my wife's grandmother taught her. I
In-
wish she would take care of the money. I don't want to deal with it no
In
more.
hindsight, me too.
Yeah. So, do your kids have any interest in the business?
I think that we feel that maybe they should all like get a job first and then they could come back to the business so they could kind of see what the real world
The real
is
world's like, exactly.
And then
That's
if,
interesting.
if they, listen, if any of them need a job, obviously they could all work in the family business, but I feel like they should kind of work in the real world and then come back. My son, I think he feels like he wants to kind of go out on his own, so I don't know what he's going to do. And my daughter kind of, says that she doesn't know really what she wants to do yet. So I don't know.
But your kids are both going to college, so it's
Yeah.
not like they're getting out of high school and saying, "Here's your job, you're starting to work." So they're actually planning for their future as it is.
Exactly. So it really would fall on them. If they wanted to, they can.
But that's a smart move because I've seen too many kids who came from well-off parents who didn't understand the value of a dollar because they were given everything and they never knew. Like your father put in serious sweat equity. You and your sisters and your brother put in
We
serious
did.
sweat equity.
Serious.
And you want to try to give that value to them. And that's probably one of the greatest lessons you can teach your kids is hard work.
Yeah. My son would, I can tell you this, my son, when wrestling season was over before he left for college, he would come home and my son really, he would go to 3 practices a day and he spends hours
I think
at
the first time I
wrestling.
called you, you were at an event.
Yeah.
You were at a wrestling event.
He would come, was like, I got a job. I'm like, really? You got a job? He would got a job, delivering pizza. He's a little worker. He's a little hustler. My daughter would cry. I'm like, really? You're crying? You need a job, you're crying. Oh my God. But him, he doesn't care. And he just texts me, he's like, I got an internship. I'm like, you got an internship? I'm
Not
like,
delivering pizzas.
No, he goes, I got an internship. And I'm like, oh, okay, good for you. He's more of a little bit of a hustler where my daughter's it's just freshman year, summer, I don't need an internship yet. I'm like, oh, okay.
But it's good to give them that lesson because then if someday they were ever you're preparing them to take over the business because how many family businesses fail in the second or third generation because the kids are spoiled.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you have a brand now to protect, and that you're protecting your father and mother's legacy.
Exactly.
And I know that's a big responsibility on your shoulders.
It is.
But I mean, now their kids are going to have to protect their parents' legacy and their grandparents' legacy.
How big of a responsibility is that to you?
It's a very big responsibility, it's very big. I mean, and I think it falls mostly on my brother's shoulders because he's kind of the leader of the family.
He's the face of it.
He's the face of it, and he is the leader of it, and he makes he makes most of the decisions, and and it's a big responsibility on him, and I do feel bad for him most of the times, but. I know that he makes the right decision. So, I mean...
You just got to stop driving through Roseland.
Exactly. That's all.
So the story...
Inside joke.
So I'm going to let everybody in on the story. So Mary and I have a connection.
Yes.
It's an odd connection, but it's a connection. So in 2007, my wife and I were planning our wedding. And we're watching TV shows on wedding cakes. And we're watching this show. It's TLC. We're just... watching it, not thinking anything of it. Wow, it's really nice cake and getting ideas and things like that. Well, I'm working midnights, and I can tell you, right, I was on Eagle Rock Avenue right in front of the Environmental Center. For those people who are local know exactly where it is. I pull over a car, and I can't even remember what the violation was. And I get the license registration. I'm looking at the license. Nothing clicks, nothing. And it was the Cake Boss was brand new if it was out. I'm looking at the guy. I'm like, man, you look really familiar. Why do I know you? And he's like, he didn't say anything, and it clicked in my head. I'm like, I just watched you on TV. And he was almost embarrassed that I recognized him.
Yeah.
That's how I felt. That's how I was like, well, hey, listen, I didn't give him a ticket. But I was like, I said, just whatever it was, stop doing whatever you were doing. And but very nice, very generous. Didn't, even though he was on TV, he didn't play the big shot.
Yeah.
But it was so strange to feel like he just felt like he was embarrassed. That's what I got from him. Is that how he is?
He really is a good guy. Like if he sees like someone that needs something, he's the type of guy like that would pull over. Like if he sees a homeless person, like he gives money. Like he really feels bad for people. Like if you tell him something, he is like, oh my God, like I can't believe it.
So,
Like,
buddy, I'm really sorry I pulled you over. I'm so sorry.
he really is like genuinely like a good person. He's very generous. He's a good dad. He's a good husband. He's a good brother. Like if I call him, he's like, like, how are the kids doing? Like, is everything all right? Like,
But I get that from everybody on the show.
Yeah.
All down the line, like genuinely good people. And I know, listen, it's reality TV. I get I've spoken to enough people on reality TV to know that reality TV is not exactly reality.
Some of it, isn't.
Yeah.
I got you.
You have second takes and third takes. Oh, let's redo that.
Like you mess up a cannoli, you get to go do it again. But then how the heck did you get approached to do Cake Boss?
Well, I think that what had happened was he was doing a lot of those challenges like where you like
like on the Food Network.
the
challenges.
Food Network challenges, and they saw him on that, and the producer was like, wow, they're like, he's really good, like they liked him, and then like they would come and sit down in the bakery, and like they would listen to like me and my sisters, and we didn't know who they were because we had like 4 little tables in the bakery, and we would be like telling my one sister, because my one sister Grace really doesn't cook like at all, so she'd be like,
So now she's got 3 sisters and a brother that cook. Why should she cook?
Exactly. So she'd be like ordering something like from Impastos to take home for dinner. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, and she's like, oh, I'm like ordering something for dinner. I'm like, oh my God, like I'll cook something for you. Like it's terrible. And like we would be like literally, she'd be like, hang up the phone. I'm like, oh, like I'd be on the phone with like my personal shopper, and she'd be like, hang up, like, So we'd be like arguing, and then like the producer would like introduce himself. I'm like, oh my God. And then like Buddy came, and he's like, someone sent in a tape of me, like, from one of the challenges, and, blah, blah, blah. And they want to do a show. And I'm like, are you crazy? I'm like, they're going to do a show on us. And he was like, yeah. And I was like, I don't know. I'm like, I don't think, we're interesting. And he was like, oh, yous are interesting. All right. So like, that's how it kind of came about.
But it's family conflict, and where you saw family conflict play really well on TV was, I think one of the first ones was American Chopper.
Yeah.
So if you ever watched American Chopper, what they built beautiful bikes just like you make beautiful cakes, but it was the family dynamic that really
Orange County Choppers. It was. At
it
first.
was it Orange?
Yeah.
Well, Orange County Choppers was a shop, but it's that family dynamic is what's interesting to people. And there are a million bakeries in the world that make gorgeous cakes.
Yeah.
But your bakery, for some reason, elevated. Why? I know why. Because of the family dynamic inside. That family value that your parents instilled in you and your siblings, that's the draw.
And a lot of people like that had those shows, they all broke up.
Yeah.
Like John and Kate,
John and Kate
like,
plus 8,
they broke up. Like, those little people, they broke up. Like
she had the original Karen hair.
Like they all broke up. Like we're still together. Like and nothing would separate us. Like
I think a lot of that comes from because portions of their life weren't real. Like that's where reality TV becomes fiction. Do you understand what I'm saying? What you're telling me is your reality TV is more real.
Yeah, like we're not gonna break. Like, and listen, we're just doing cakes and like we're together. And listen, do we argue sometimes? Of course we argue about like stupid things or whatever. But we're not gonna do something to each other that's gonna break us up. We're a close knit family.
But see, I think what really breaks all those people up is they say fame changes everybody. But just from what you're saying about your family, it doesn't seem like anybody changed at all.
Yeah, we didn't change with any of that. Like we don't care. Like you know what I'm saying? Like who? Like you're on TV. Okay, you're on TV. Who cares? You know what I'm saying? It didn't.
But what changed? I imagine everything changed after that show came out and was a hit.
The business changed a lot. That was what had changed, you know.
And I
taking pictures and signing autographs when you need to make cannolis.
Exactly.
I remember my sister-in-law who grew up in Hoboken. She comes and she knew Carlo's Bakery from growing up, and it was a great neighborhood bakery.
Yes.
And then I remember she brought a cake from Carlo's, the one on Washington Street, and I was like, "How the heck did you get this?" Like, I didn't even know it was a real place. I thought it was a fictional show. I'm a South Jersey kid, so I thought it was a fictional show, but no, it's the real deal. So it's been around and it's been a staple now. But like, when did you first realize that everything changed?
I think when the show became a success, when we thought, when I knew that the show became a success, then it was like, oh my God.
Was there a point, like an exact point, where it's like this just got big?
Yeah, what was your holy cow moment?
Well, to me, I was like, when you're on Oprah, to me, that was my point. I'm like, then I'll feel like you're like, this big star or whatever. And then he had a chance to be on Oprah, and I was like, oh my God, like, and then he took me on Oprah with him. And then he even said it. He's like, my sister told me, and then like, they shine the light, and I was crying hysterical, like my big moment on Oprah, and I was like I was crying hysterical. I'm like, oh my God. And that's all you saw. And like, he brought me and all my sisters and my mother. We were all on Oprah crying. Like, it was just like terrible. Like, obviously it was beautiful, but it was just like this big moment. And he got to make a cake for Oprah. And she was so nice because like we were in the back and then we took a picture with her. And it was just like, that was the moment I'm like, oh my God, like my brother's like,
this is it.
This is it. Like, my brother really made it because I'm here on the Oprah Winfrey Show. I'm on Oprah. I'm here on Oprah. And like, I've designed some cakes for like these famous people. Like, I've made cakes for like, who did I make cakes for? I made cakes for like the Olsen twins. I made cakes for like Chris Rock's kid. We made cakes for Justin Bieber. Taylor Swift, Selena Gomez. Like, I've designed cakes for like all these different celebrities, And
Oprah, the biggest one you ever met.
Well, you shook hands with you had a picture with a billionaire.
Yeah, I was on there. I was next to her, and we've made cakes for so many people. But the two most famous people that I made cakes for, that I'm like dear and friendly with, and they're like family to me, was Mariano Rivera, and I'm still to this day.
Oh no, you're a Yankees fan.
Go ahead.
Oh my God.
No, but my family are Met fans.
Okay.
My husband and son are Met fans, but
that's a little worse, but I'm a Philly fan. So.
Okay. And Tim McGraw and his mother.
Really?
Oh, nice.
So, okay. All right. So there's a nice segue.
And his mother.
At least his father was Tug McGraw. Great pitcher for the Phillies. I can get on board with that.
Love Betty and Tim McGraw. And Faith is beautiful.
She's
wonderful.
gorgeous.
Yeah.
I mean,
gorgeous.
she's just
Drop
all class.
dead.
All class.
Drop dead. Gorgeous. And Tim is very handsome in person.
You ever make a
and
cake
his
for
mother
Jennifer?
and sisters, the whole family. His daughters their daughters are gorgeous. The whole family. So like, I'm like family with them.
Did you ever make a cake for Jennifer Aniston?
Did I ever make a cake?
He's trying to find a backdoor.
If you do, call me. I'll help you design it.
No, I haven't.
You
I
pop
don't
out
know
of it?
if the bakery ever did, but no, me personally, no, I haven't.
He wants to pop out of the cake. Okay, different type of cake.
no.
Different type.
Listen, it doesn't have to be a tall cake. I'm only 5'9".
But Tim McGraw, I remember when it came out because he didn't know Tug McGraw was his father.
Yeah,
I don't know if you're aware of who his father was.
Yeah, I do know.
he pitched the last pitch in the 1980
I know how
World
he
Series.
found out. He found his birth certificate.
Yeah, and when you put those two together, you're like, how did you not know? They look spitting image of each other. I think Tug had more hair, but wow, that's I don't know.
It's got to be cool.
I don't know if I could handle that. Like
It puts a lot of pressure on you, though.
Yeah,
To design a cake for all these big people, like, what if the cake doesn't come out right? What if they're mad, or what if?
Well, I don't even I have no control because I don't make the cakes.
But you
and then-
designed it, right?
Yeah, and then to go in the back and be like, that's like, when you're envisioning something in your head and you're not the ones with the hands on the cake, it's very hard because, like what you're seeing. But listen, my brother, like, is very talented. And there's been many times where I'd be doing a consultation, then, like, I'd run in and, like, if he wasn't filming at the time or because I was there doing that, I'd be like, all right, buddy. But his envision is even, I would say, better than mine because, and be like,
I've seen that a lot on the show where he'll change something like
and
midstream.
I would say to him, what are you thinking with this and that? And, and then he'd be like, well, we could do this because, like, I don't know, like, what possible physically could be done. Like, he's the one that's making it and his team. Well, can you do this? Oh, yeah, well, we could do this. Like, this is for this one and this is for that. And this is, and then he could, move things around.
So you're the creative. So
she's not the fondant queen.
No, I couldn't.
Boss Mary.
If I touched the fondant, it would melt. Like, I would eat the fondant. That's what I'd be doing. I'd be passing, and I'd
You'd be the one with
eat
the
the fondant.
the finger in the cake. Like,
yeah.
I actually love watching them making it because
that's-
imagination becomes reality when it comes to that. Your imagination, what you can dream. Buddy's task is equally as difficult as your vision.
Exactly.
Yeah, and one's not harder than the other. You think of the idea and okay, build this.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's tough.
And then going in there to the decorators, okay, well, can you do this? And then sometimes they look at you. Can you? No, well, no, I can't do it. Can you?
I was gonna say, did they ever look at you and say, like, really?
Yeah,
you really want me to do that?
And then sometimes, well, what's easier? I would say, well, what's easier to do?
I think I'm pretty sure they made something like the Empire State Building on one of the shows. It was something crazy, and I'm looking at them like, it's too pretty to even eat. Did you ever run across that where you make something so beautiful you don't want anybody to touch it? Yeah. You're attached to your work, I guess.
Yeah.
You can't keep it forever. It's a cake.
Yeah, well, maybe. So you just success after success after success. And then we had this little thing happen in 2021, which hurt a lot of culinary businesses.
Yes.
So how did you get through that?
Well, it was actually, no one really, like, wanted to work because everyone was scared, who had people that they were protecting at home. So basically, like, then I really was working. We all went to work and we were actually busy because everyone wanted to order stuff to be shipped. So we were busy shipping and we were working and we just pulled together as a family and we worked as a family.
So it's that core family value that always has been steadfast. Forget about the bakery for a minute. It's not the bakery that is successful. It's the family values that were instilled.
I remember I got a call and we said, all right, family, we all need to work because, who's not working and we have so many orders that need to get shipped out. So the family has to work. So my kids we used to say whoever needs to log on for school because they were remote, they go log on and then they would come back to work. We were working. And like the kids would say, all right, I got to go log on. All right, go log on and then come back in. And then I'd be like, all right, my son has to go wrestle. All right, he could wrestle the racks. No, he has to go to wrestling because that's what's going to get him into college. Like,
do you
he's
understand?
gotta go to practice.
You're living what your father envisioned.
Exactly.
How beautiful is that? And an unfortunate circumstance in lockdown has really brought your father's vision into fruition of what he had an idea for his family.
Exactly.
To always be together, to always hold true to what the core values are. And it's not the bakery, it's the family. That's what made Cake Boss successful. It's not the bakery, it's family.
Exactly.
And a lot of people watch it for the family interaction too.
Of course.
I mean, I'd love to see when they were yelling and screaming at each other in the kitchen and everything else. And then all of a sudden, this beautiful cake comes out and everybody walks away and they're all happy. I mean, that's a typical Italian family.
Yes.
Did the producers ever egg you on a little bit?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Like a little bit. They would ask, they would say, well, what do you think about that? And then, they would just leave it up to us. Well, what do you think about that? Well, what do you mean? What do you think about that?
They'd come out and say, you had to hear what Buddy just said about you in the
Yeah,
back room.
something like that. Be like, what did he say? What did she say? Well, they would say more like your sister. What did my sister say?
So Carlo's Bakery has grown exponentially. And where do you think in the future where would you like to see the business go? Like, forget about the show for a minute. Carlo's Bakery is an entity in itself, and it's a brand, and it's a top-notch, high-end brand. Where would you like to see it go?
Well, I mean, I think that what we wanted to accomplish was it to be a household name. That was the biggest thing, I think. And I think
Check.
I think that was the biggest thing. Now with the vending machines, with the, like now they're in like the rest stops, like on the Parkway. And I think that they're, wanted to get them out a few other places. And I think that's a great idea. And I think that that's happening soon. And I kind of feel like, I'm kind of happy where everything is. I mean, of course you would want it to, get bigger and, more successful, but I'm just happy and I'm grateful that it's part of my family and part of my kids' legacy. And I just hope that it grows for generations for my kids and their kids and all the kids, for all my nieces and nephews and for all of them.
Did you ever step back and think that your family has become part of millions of families now?
No, I never envisioned it to be, like that.
Because like I said, I mean, my family used to schedule their night around watching that show.
Yeah.
So you technically became part of your family became part of my family because we sat around and watched it.
No, I know. And I mean, I remember them saying like you're in 96 countries. Then they would like you're in 172 countries.
It's humbling.
Like it was just crazy. And it was just it was just insane.
On a level that I'm having trouble understanding on level. And I'm going to put it into perspective for you. When we started our show, Mike came in as a guest on episode 9. That episode on audio got 333 downloads. And I was so humbled because here's how it went in my mind. 333 people took their time to listen to two idiots talk about pain and suffering or struggles that they had to go through. And it was an incredibly I remember talking to my wife about it, going, I am like blown away. I'm humbled by it. Where you, on a completely different scale, it's got to be humbling to you.
Oh my God, yeah. And it's more like and people used to come up to me. I don't know if they took it as like being more like conceited, but I was more like shy and like embarrassed about it. Like I'm like, oh my God, because my brother makes these beautiful, amazing cakes. Like they want to take a picture with me. Like I didn't understand it. I was like, oh my God. Like I was more embarrassed and shy about it. And I was like, if I'm out, like I couldn't wrap my head around it. I'm like, okay, like I felt like, like my brother was like Mickey Mouse and I was just like, like Goofy or like, like he was the mouse, like you want the mouse, like, you know what I'm saying? Like I couldn't comprehend it. Like, you know what I'm saying?
But now every time you go out, you have to have your hair done. Your makeup's got to be just right. You got to.
Well, yeah, like I used to drive my kids. It was so funny. Like, I would drive my kids to school in the morning and I would be like in my robe, like no makeup and whatever. And I'd see my friends and they would like tease me and I'm like, wait till pickup. I'd be like, wait till pickup. Like, like we would tease each other. But then there was like a certain point where it was like, but then like I kind of got over that. Like, like after the show, like, kind of like I would feel like, oh my God, like I couldn't go out unless like I was like totally put together or done up or whatever. But then like I was like, like I still didn't go out without makeup. But then I would like, because I was always self-conscious even before the show. Like, I felt like I always, like, had to look a certain way in the morning. Like, that was just always me. But then I kind of felt like I didn't have to do that because I didn't want my daughter to feel like that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because I did have a daughter and I didn't want her to think, like, you always had to look like a certain way. Because my daughter's definitely more plain than I am. So I was like, I didn't want her to feel like you had to like look a certain way.
Do your kids bust your chops about being famous?
Sometimes, yeah, they do. Like they'll tease me.
Like,
They'll
Mom, you
like,
got to stop and give an
they'll
autograph.
be like, "Oh my God, like are you Mary from Cake Boss?" I'm like, "Shut up." I'm like, "Shut up." Like they'll tease me. They'll say.
So there was a Mike. Mike has been recognized. He did it in a pizzeria, and I want you to talk about that. But I did a show called Soft White Underbelly, and I'm in the gym. Guy comes up and says, "Hey, you're Kevin." I was like, "Yeah," and I thought maybe I coached one of his kids or something like that. And I'm with my son working out, and the guy's like, "No, I just saw you on Soft White Underbelly." And my son, so the guy's facing me. My son is behind him, laughing at me. My 13-year-old is laughing at me. And the guy, I talked to the guy for a couple of minutes, but I felt really uncomfortable, like very, very uncomfortable. And my son goes to me, he's like, "Dad, can we continue working out? Or are you done signing autographs?" I swear to God, it was so uncomfortable. Was it similar for you, Mike?
Yeah, it was more a proud moment for me because my father, I was out to dinner with my father and a couple of his friends. My father was one of the biggest fans of the show.
His father,
He loves it.
You would love his father.
He's old school Italian. We had him on the show one day, and he's funny. So we weren't even on video yet.
Nope.
And we're in a pizza place in Bayonne. And we're sitting there, and I see this guy, and this guy keeps staring at me. And I'm like getting uncomfortable. I thought maybe I had snot running down my nose or something. So we get up to leave, and the guy, he goes, "Sir." So I go walking over. Now my father comes up right behind me. My father thinks the guy's going to fight me, The guy goes, "You're that guy from the podcast, aren't you?" My father's face just beamed. It was like, I'm like, "Yes, I am." He goes, "I love your podcast. You guys do such a good job." And it was just like a real proud moment for me,
Yeah.
What do you think your father would say if he saw where your family is now?
Oh, I think he'd be so proud. I think my dad would be so proud.
I just got chills.
I think he'd be so proud. I do.
I think he'd be more proud that you're all still together.
I definitely do.
Yeah.
I think he'd be so proud. I mean, our mom got to see it, and then again she was sick and she had dementia and stuff, but I mean she saw it. And she was on Cake Boss too. So she was, in the beginning.
She was part of the crew.
She was part of the crew. So she saw it.
I'm actually, your father is looking down, and he has got to be just beaming with pride, because we all, as parents, we all want our children to do well and succeed in whatever they do in life, whether it's a business that I am in or whether it's a business of their own choosing. And what greater success? That's the success story. Greenhorn comes in, starts a business, works their butt off so the kids can have a better life.
Yeah.
American dream.
Yeah.
Job done. Job done.
It's true.
So you've run the gambit of starting a new business to where it is today, to growing it, to managing the fame of being on TV, which again I think is you got to be careful what you wish for sometimes because it's not all it's cracked up to be. If you saw somebody else coming up like you came up, like your family came up, what do you think one thing is that you learned from the struggles and the suffering that you went through?
You just got to be humble. You just got to stay, you can't let it get to your head. You got to just stay humble, and you got to just still stay true, and you got to just stay, be who you are. You can't let it get to your head. I
think stay true is the main thing. Be the person that you are.
I 100%
You're true to yourself
with
and you're
that.
true to your family.
Everyone said we remain the same people, that we,
It's a rare thing.
nothing really changed.
Somebody walks down the street, "Mary, how are you?"
Hi.
How it costs. Mike Turner taught me that it costs $0 to be nice.
I always say hi.
Yeah.
And people would ask, even I don't know where I was. I was in Walmart, I think. Walmart. I was with my friend from East Hanover. We were in Walmart, okay? I got hacked. Someone had my credit card. They bought disco lights, and they were from Walmart.
We had disco lights in the studio, right? Was that you that hacked her?
Well, listen, we're not going to say anything. It may or may
But
not have been.
they shipped them to my house. They
Not
hacked
only was he
me.
a criminal, but he was a stupid
I called
criminal.
my kids. I'm like, "Did you guys order disco lights for your dorm room?" They're like, "No." So I said, "All right, let me bring them back to Walmart." I brought the disco lights back to Walmart. So I'm in Walmart. So I'm in the middle of the aisle of Walmart, and a lady sees me, and I think I don't know if it was her brother or her son, drops a whole thing of Hawaiian punch, spills red Hawaiian punch like everywhere in the aisle. So I look, and the lady was like, the manager was giving me a hard time about the disco lights. I'm like, are you kidding me? Someone like hacked my credit card. I'm like, and meanwhile, my husband's fighting with me. He don't want to cancel my credit card because he has to change everything. I'm like, do you understand? Someone's got the credit card. Like, are you kidding me? I'm gonna cancel it when I get home. So anyway, she's looking at me now. The manager's looking at me, and I'm like, it wasn't me. Like, there's red Hawaiian punch everywhere. So the lady's looking at me, and a lot of people recognize my voice. It's the voice. That's what they recognize. So she's like, you're Mary. So I'm like, yeah. So she just comes up to me, and like, she was like short, so her hair is just in my mouth. Literally, she comes and she's hugging me. So I'm just hugging her, and her hair is in my mouth. I don't say a word. She's hugging me like for maybe 10 minutes, literally 10 minutes. She has her son there. She's got the new Hawaiian punch. He's waiting for her. He's like telling me he's sorry. I'm like, it's okay. Her hair's literally, I didn't want to, because I think like she's like really like crying, telling me like how much she loves my brother. I felt like FaceTiming my brother. Like, I'm like, because I always do that to him. If I know someone really likes my brother, I FaceTime him. And then I'm like, I'll text him. I'm like, be nice. Like, I don't know if you're in a bad mood. I'm like, I'm FaceTiming you. But he normally is, but I'll give him a heads up. And then he's like, yeah, it's like, no problem. And he always will say hi. And her hair's in my mouth, and she was just like so happy. But like, I always hug him and whatever.
You just made their day.
I always try, to do like the right thing. And I was like,
But that's so important. It's I'm going to tell you why it's important. When you meet somebody who some people just have that wow moment. If you're a human being, you have bad days just like everybody else.
And I'm a little nervous, I have to say, about about the whole Jeremy thing, like after the whole lockdown, like, I am, but I didn't care. Like, if someone wants to hug me.
Because if you're having a bad day and you allow that bad day to affect your interaction with them, they're going to walk away. Yeah, I met Mary from Cake Boss. What not a nice person.
Yeah.
And that's not what you want.
No.
Because that's not who you are. That was just that particular moment in time. And that happened to me with Mickey Mantle. I'm telling you right now, it happened to me with Mickey Mantle. I think he was drunk, but he was having a bad day. I was a 17-year-old kid. I was Mr. Mantle. You mind if my dad was a big fan. You mind if I get an autograph? He goes, get the F away from me, kid. I will never forget that, nor will I ever watch anything and be joyous of watching Mickey Mantle.
Yeah.
This is a guy, all he had to do is say, hey, kid, not now. I'm just sorry, I'm not now. But he didn't. He let his bad day overtake him. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the grace. Like, if there's one thing I can say about you, meeting you face to face, is you epitomize grace. You really do. You epitomize grace, the big smile. You disarm people with your smile. And I think that's why people gravitate towards you.
Thank you.
And you're embarrassed by when I said that because I could tell by your face.
If there's any proof that she still stayed humble, she shopped at Walmart.
Yeah,
I do. I can shop anywhere. I can go to Walmart. Then I'm like, oh, look at the pajamas. Look at this. Look at that. Like,
Walmart is better than the movies.
I go. Like, we were just like walking
Especially
around.
in Pennsylvania with all the clientele in there.
Go to a Walmart on a Saturday night. Take your husband. Have a date. It is the best experience of your life.
Okay, see? I was like, all right, we're going to Walmart.
You're going to Walmart and you're just watching people.
Then we went to the dollar store next door. I'm like, okay, this is great. I said.
I got one question before we end this, and it's related to the show. Who's a better singer, Frank Sinatra or Elvis Presley?
Oh.
Come on.
Oh, no.
Come on.
Listen,
You're asking somebody from Hoboken. This is
why
not fair.
No,
That's why I asked.
I have to say, listen, I have to say I'm going to go with Elvis because
Yes.
you know why?
Yes.
Frank Sinatra turned his back on Hoboken
Thank you.
people. I'm
And
a little upset. He turned his
do say
back
that.
on Hoboken.
So I heard that from Stuart Chiricella. I don't know if you know
Turned his
Stewie.
back on Hoboken. Well, I heard because the Hoboken people, supposedly what I heard, he got booed from Hoboken people, and he said that he would never admit or like do anything for Hoboken. So I don't know how true that is, but that's what I heard.
And I don't understand that. Well, Hoboken people are the most genuine people I've ever met in my life. That's the truth.
Obviously, except Frank Sinatra.
Yeah.
So I have to go with Elvis because of that.
Oh, Mary, I liked you before, but now I'm starting to love you.
You know, because of that,
we
he
have this
turned his back on Hoboken, Elvis. I mean, Frank
He's a
Sinatra.
better looking guy, too.
Did Elvis ever go to Hoboken?
I don't know.
Okay. So
I
at least
have
Frank Sinatra
no
was there for a
idea.
while.
I don't know.
Hoboken in the
trying
50s.
to fight my case.
I don't know. Mary, where can our audience find you?
My Instagram is Cake Boss Mary, and I'm on TikTok. I think it's the same thing. It's Cake Boss Mary.
We will put links to everything.
Yeah, Cake Boss Mary.
And carlosbakery.com.
What?
I believe it's carlosbakery.com for the
Yes.
bakery itself.
Uh-huh.
And I see you brought a Carlos Bakery bag.
Yes, I bought you some cannolis. I bought you some cannolis.
Oh, look at this. No Italian ever comes empty-handed.
No,
You know?
and I bought you some rainbow cookies.
Oh,
And I bought you some cannolis.
So this is like so we can get the experience.
Yeah, you just snip it and then you just fill them.
We can get the experience of actually being in the bakery itself by making our own cannolis.
Yeah.
see that?
We're going to do an instructional
If you do
video.
a good job, you may get a job down there.
Mary, I can't thank you so much.
No problem.
It was an
It was
absolute
a-
pleasure meeting you.
And it was a
really
pleasure being here, guys, anytime.
Yeah, we like to have fun.
Yes.
So if you're ever in the Hoboken area, go down to Washington Street, visit Carlo's Bakery.
Yep.
Follow Mary Cake Boss. It's Cake Boss Mary.
Cake
Cake
Boss
Boss
Mary.
Mary.
Cake Boss Mary. Wonderful cooking tips. I'm a
Yes.
huge fan of your Instagram and your cooking tips.
Thank you.
So check her out. And that's going to do it for this episode of the Suffering Podcast. As always, let's think about stuff that we learned. Sentiment is a beautiful thing. Family is everything. Opportunities always present themselves, but most importantly, be humble and be who you are. And that's going to do it for this episode. Don't forget to follow us on all social media. Go to popple.com, get yourself a nice digital business card, put in TSP20 for a 20% discount. Follow us on LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. Follow Mike at Mike_Failace. Follow me at Real Kevin Donaldson. And of course, follow the Suffering Podcast. And we're going to see you on the next episode.